Welcome back again, and we're going to go live a little bit later than I planned, and I do have to get to bed soon to get up early for my weekly coaching session by one of the former Australian champions on the track as a Masters track cyclist. So he's trying to get me up to speed so I can beat a few more home at next year's Australian Championship. So I was about 7th out of 9, so I've got a lot of work to do, and I need a lot of natural therapies to keep me doing all of this, and then get out on the track. So, have you got any very natural, very legal, clever ways of keeping a 61-year-old body and mind tuned in and focused? I'm all ears, and I've had a couple of practitioners look after me this week. I've got my Chinese herbs here. I won't mention the practitioner because ARPA will come and nail him like they've done my other two integrative doctors. And for those that have been following the hyperbaric oxygen therapist that I've been going to for 10 years, he's up to he was up to 12 regulatory attacks. Then he got 2 from the ACCC in the last month. He's just got back from speaking 2 sessions in the US as a keynote speaker with all the hyperbaric specialists over there, and opens up the package tonight, and he's rung me and said he's got another one. So we're up to 15 regulatory attacks to shut him down. Good luck, guys. And Minister Hennessy, love you very much, but well, we did 66 days in VCAT. You want to nail him for this latest one? Good luck. I'll be there, and I'll have plenty of hyperbaric oxygen. And I suggest some of your teams should start using it because oxygen's a pretty interesting commodity. And there we go. So I've had an unbelievable 2 days at the Municipal Association of Victoria's Power to the People conference, and in discussing the problem we've got here as patients of natural therapists and the natural therapy practitioners, a lot came out of the way to build the network, build the community, build the volunteer base, get the message clearer. There's a bit of nervousness taking on pharmaceutical companies, which I can understand. And so I've come up with a little bit of a revamp on the Melbourne Town Hall Remembrance Day Summit. So let's have a crack at this, see if we can knock it over in about 12 or 13 minutes, and then we can, I can certainly go to bed, and you can keep doing Facebook or whatever else you're doing at this stage of night. So let me see if I can show you one of the key changes in the name anyway, and then I've got a little surprise, and I'm hoping to nail this particular person to open the summit. So let's just see what I've got in mind. Okay, so speaking louder when I do switch over, and just to reinforce where I've been the last 2 days, and thank you to the 8 people that put money into the GoFundMe account. We raised $350 in 24 hours, and luckily the conference people said they're going to send me an invoice, so I got in without having to pay because I didn't have enough money. So that money from GoFundMe will come through, and we only need another $250 to cover a sensational 2016 Power of the People conference, and in particular, it was all good. I mean, I shouldn't highlight anyone, but I am. I sat in on this presentation encouraging innovation and getting past the yeah buts in your community. And I know I'm putting my neck out having a crack with all of you against the pharmaceutical lobby, so we're just going to make it a little bit easier for everyone to get on board. And the second session in the afternoon was fabulous, and I'll need to re-listen to it, but it was about growing your volunteer quotient, more help, more often. Kerry Tilby Price from New Zealand. So thank you, Kerry, for realigning my thoughts, and let's see what that means. So I've changed the name, and you can give me some feedback, and then we can lock it in and get the email invitations going. Ticket selling from Eventbrite, sponsorship, working out all the things that I've forgotten that you've got brilliant ideas, and getting the committee going and get some excitement that we can make a difference. So it's for the Australian people to petition for a federal independent commission against corruption. And why have I chosen people help the people? I was going to lock into the power to the people concept and maybe call it the people petition, power Power Petition for the People Summit or something like that, but I've chosen People Help the People. Tell me what you think. And the big reason is I'm hoping to get this performer to be there on the day. So let me just see if I can work out how to do this. Practiced a couple of times. Have a listen. Best laid plans, and for some reason
I've been roaming around, always looking down at all I see.
For some reason it's not the right one.
Painted faces fill the places I can reach. You know that I could use somebody. No. You know that I could use somebody. Someone like you and all you know.
Right, sorry about that.
God knows what is hiding in those weak and drunken hearts. Guess he kissed the girls and made them cry, those hard-faced queens of misadventure. God knows what is hiding in those weak and sunken lives. Fiery thorns and muted angels, giving love but getting nothing back. People, help the people. Nothing will drag you down. Oh, and if I had a brain, I'd be cold as a stone and rich as the fool that turned all those good hearts away. Drunken hearts, guess the loneliness came knocking. No one needs to be alone. Oh, singing people, help the people. And if you're homesick, give me your hand and I'll hold it. Oh, people, help the people. Nothing will hold you down. Oh, and if I had a brain, oh, and if I had a brain, I'd be cold as a stone and rich as the fool that turned all those good hearts away.
Yes, so that's Louise Adams for those that don't know the X Factor, which I only just started watching last year. I'm being told I've got a weak connection, so can you all that are on hear me now? Just give me some indication. It says your connection is weak. Julie Alton's just joined. How are you, Julie? Good trip. So the concept of all these councils is to try and engage all the citizens. So I feel this could be an interesting way for us to build the base of what we're trying to do here, which is to get some political attention for the plight of patients and practitioners that want the freedom of choice to go to natural practitioners. So we'll flip back here, and the Melbourne Town Hall I've booked on the 11th of November, Remembrance Day. Plan is to start the summit at 9:11 a.m. and we could even have Louise Adams. I've approached her manager and I'm waiting for a response as to what it would take. And she's got a big voice and there's a massive organ there, and I'm sure she's got a few other songs that we could belt out. And the X Factor's got such a big audience with the younger people too, so I think that's a very critical base of support we need. The plan is to finish the presentations at the Town Hall at 3:33. we've got to be out because there's another function that night. Plan is to go then to the Federation Square. For those that don't know Melbourne, that's about a block, 2 blocks, well, 1 block away, Collins Street down to Flinders Street. And then after 4, we could then commence a walk to the Shrine of Remembrance, where they're having a series of ceremonies for this special day that it is, remembering those that have fallen. And one idea I've had, and people are suggesting, is we invite all those people to come on that walk in Melbourne and other states that have had issues with the pharmaceutical drug products and are battling away on the back of those adverse events and things that have gone wrong. So that would cover all pharmaceutical drugs and any other issues. And we walk to the shrine and we remember all of those people that are suffering that didn't go to the formal wars, but there's a lot of families having their own set of wars at the moment in coping with a lot of chronic illness that's got particularly younger people engulfed. And the epidemic of mental health disease and all the young children on ADD and I say morphing into ICE and all these other problems as a relationship. So let's get out and walk, show the people that we can help each other and have a very civil, respectful way of presenting our cause to both the federal government and also to the state government. So the plan is for an Australian petition for a commission against corruption, and the reason we've chosen to call for this as a first step is it precisely aligns with the Melbourne City Council's resolution in May of 2016. And not only did the Melbourne City Council pass a resolution along these lines, it was also picked up by all 79 Victorian municipal councils on the 13th of May. And the resolution said specifically this. We're talking about all the councils in Victoria support the establishment of an independent federal government agency with a specific mandate to investigate, expose and prosecute corruption in all areas of public administration directly overseen by the federal government, including the conduct of federal members of parliament. Now, it's probably fallen on deaf ears, as we know, because both sides of politics are very nervous about the mud being thrown all around the place, so they don't need an independent body to sort them out up there. So we need to get the people to help the people and support what the Municipal Association in Victoria president did in writing to all the leaders of the political parties during the last federal election. So let's resurrect that. Let's see if we can extend that to the other states. So the time we get to the 11th of November, we've got all state councils behind this and all the natural health professions that are being challenged and all of their patients to sign a petition. And the reasons why the council mentioned and put this forward during an election campaign was they felt there was a need to scrutinise federal politicians and public servants because it's no longer tenable for the federal parliament not to have one when the nation's 4 biggest states all have corruption commissions. And in fact, the councillors operate under a stricter system as well than the federal MPs. So I'm adding a second purpose in addition to what the councils have said, because they're not aware of the second purpose. The first purpose is making the people's views heard for the Federal Anti-Corruption Commission they talked about, but I'm putting a second one in, the moratorium for the Health Complaints Act due to start February 2017. And you've all people that have been tuned into what I've been saying since February when I came aware of this bill, which is now an act, not operating yet, but February startup next year, still a chance to have an impact on that. So I think there's a perfect opportunity inside the Melbourne Town Hall to shake up the knowledge base so we all learn the risks of this bill coming in, or this now act, and the impact it could have on further narrowing the scope of what natural professions can do and what we as patients are then left with as we lose our natural practitioners to these incredible assaults on the practitioner base. And I've already said before, I've lost both my integrative doctors. I'm on my 15th challenge to put my hyperbaric oxygen guy out of business. My main naturopath had a massive attack on what she's been doing in relation to helping heroin addicts and alcohol addicts in a drug-free approach. We've got to close that down, don't we? Well, they didn't succeed, but they try. It's very serious what's going to happen in February. So get your heads out of the sand. People help the people. Patients help the practitioners. That's what this is all about, because the government's not going to help us. They're just sitting there ready to cut the heads off all the other professions that are not inside AHPRA. And if you're not sure about that, I get so many practitioners that have been getting complaints. The chiropractors are over 50% have had complaints. 50%. It's in the thousands. And I've seen some of the complaints. They are 80, 100 pages they have to respond to. It is mind-boggling what they're being put through. The authors of all the books are being put through. They're going to close down the ability to write books as well. You would die if you saw the one on one of the main chiropractic authors. It is a sick, sick health department we've got. It is corrupt, in my opinion, in many areas, and it has to end for our health. So if I switch back to the slides and pause, the prime purpose is to have an end corruption summit where we actually petition under the Federal House of Representatives standing orders. There's a standing committee on petitions, very rarely used, and you can lodge a petition on behalf of the people and for this specific purpose of a federal independent commission against corruption. It has to be a signed document. It can't be social media. We have to get out in the street and get the signatures. So hopefully we'll have 2,000 people at the summit, and then when we have the walk to the Shrine of Remembrance, we might get 100,000 people if we work together, and that could be a massive petition, and we can be with the House of Representatives who have to listen to that voice and see why they can justify not having a focus on corruption anymore. The second petition is for a moratorium. So I'm not calling for a repeal of this act. Let's put a moratorium on it, because I say it is discriminatory. I say it exceeds the way the acts have been done in the other states that are currently operating, Queensland, New South Wales and South Australia, and the code of conduct that the natural practitioners are required in these states is stronger, tighter than it is in the other states. So why have they changed it? Why are Victoria the only one to focus on complaints in the name of this act? Well, they've just advertised for the Health Complaints Commission. I nearly put an ad in, right? I have been a regulator with the National Companies and Securities Commission, principal legal officer a long time ago. I actually satisfied a lot of those conditions, but they're not going to give me a job there because they're effectively wanting to abolish natural therapies because of what the federal government did last year. The federal government's already ruled there's not enough evidence to substantiate, is the word. There's not enough evidence to substantiate the clinical efficacy of natural professions. Unfortunately, the new State Act says you must substantiate the efficacy of your treatments if you want to play the game, otherwise we can prohibit you. Now that's all very well. So you could say, well, okay, well I won't make any claims. Well, that means you close your website down, pretty much, and then your marketing's going down. It's already being affected. You're effectively abolished if they want to take you on. And if you don't think they're going to take you on, they've already taken on half the chiropractors. They're now taking on the Chinese medicine for use of acupuncture. They're up to their 15th complaint on my hyperbaric oxygen. They are paranoid. They are manic to nail it. Absolutely manic. He's the last private hyperbaric oxygen therapist with the proper chambers. It is a joke. And Minister Hennessy's mouthed off in the media about sending the ACCC. We're waiting for the main complaint. can't wait to get it. But she's already gone to the media and cut his head off. So you think they're not going to do it to homeopaths and naturopaths and massage therapists and all of this in February? Good luck. They won't even tell me. This is the state government of Victoria. I've asked for the submissions. They called for consultation in 2015. They refused to announce who put submissions in for this redrafted act, which is much tighter than the other states, I say. They will not even disclose who put the submissions in, let alone what they said. And they've told me, go to Freedom of Information. Well, stuff that. We're going to the Melbourne Town Hall and we're going to get a petition. And if that's the way we're running the health game, then it's not good enough. And people will wake up. So you've still got time, Minister Hennessy, to give the natural practitioners the names of the people you relied on to have a tighter regulation in Victoria than any other state. Who were they? And you know none of them were natural therapy associations, and that's why you don't want to tell me. I'll flip back and then we'll go to bed, or I will. 6 key reasons for this petition summit we're going to have is to encourage Australians to petition for this Federal Independent Commission against Corruption, to encourage Victorians, as a special legislative procedure in Victoria, to petition the State Parliament, and we're going to ask for a moratorium on this Complaints Act so they can put all the information on the table for us to make a proper assessment of why they've gone out on a limb further than the other states. We've got till February to put the pressure on. So after the summit, we can still have this summit petition going. We can start it all at the summit or before and just build and build and build up to Christmas. We can be in all the shopping centres. Everyone will be out buying presents. We will have one big present to give the Victorian government as to why they did this by stealth. Point 3, we'll focus at the summit on ending corruption, how ending corruption or impacting corruption can benefit your personal and family health, your freedom of choice and your quality of life. That's what corruption's doing. And number 4, it stifles small business. It is the big business that corrupts government, pays for the donations. We read it every day, and that means small business can't compete. That's why there's an anti-competitive commission. Unfortunately, they've never done a corruption case against Big Pharma. So corruption not only stifles small business, it stifles innovation, it stifles productivity, it stifles economic growth, and it's shattering our basic freedoms in this supposed lucky country. It's a sensitive topic. I'm not going to shirk the issue at this summit. Other people will be nervous. We'll have a separate section on it. You don't have to come and hear it. Go outside and sit in the sun, but there will be a specific component of this summit focused on pharma corruption. And if you do come along, or you might be able to see it live or delayed, perhaps we'll have to work out that. I think people will be stunned what will be presented. Finally, we need a positive end. We need to show how Australia can best end corruption, minimise it at least, and with your help. And it's your help that's the key. It's all of us helping each other. It's not going to be coming from government. That's the unfortunate. The focus will be on international whistleblowers, and the case study in particular about the drug I had banned with a private campaign, Risperdal, for elderly having vascular dementia and having mixed dementia, and a restriction on the use of this dementia drug for Alzheimer's. That will be a big feature. We will focus on a major corruption in the US about drugs for teenagers, and we'll have a very close focus on corruption in drugs for children in the US. And some of the biggest names will tell us about that. Haven't got it confirmed, but I'm close to nailing. There's a couple of major players that are reformed executives, and if I just switch back, they have decided after being caught themselves to be counselling the big companies about how to minimise the chances of corruption and how to detect it. So one of those I'm hoping will participate. And then I want a big focus on the editorial journals. Many editors have said, including one still working for the Lancet, one of the biggest in the world, if not the most prestigious, that the bulk of the majority of the science in the journals is actually false and misleading. Pretty major statement. So let's bring that onto the table and understand somebody wrote that science. Who wrote it? Well, maybe we need a scientist regulatory agency. Why should the scientists take all the taxpayers' money, do fraudulent science, work for universities, fund lobby groups that are against natural therapies, and then half of their science is conflicted or false or they've been bribed, according to what's happening all the time in the US? Why aren't we talking about scientists? Luckily, I know the chief scientist. He was Australia's best entrepreneur, so he may well help clean the whole area of science out and get Australia where it should be. Fair, balanced, proper methodology, consistent across both mainstream medicine science and natural therapies, because we've got an incredibly corrupt National Health and Medical Research Council who love tampering with their mandatory guidelines, ignoring them completely when it comes to giving massive drug combinations to children, and then loading up the mandatory guidelines and more when you review the natural therapies, so all the practitioners can be prohibited with the State Complaints Act. Well, it's a bit like playing parallel bars, you know. The high parallel bar in the Olympics is the one our government sets for the natural practitioners that never have any adverse events compared to incredible damage done, you know, by the medical profession in killing us and giving us side effects. And they've got a low parallel bar when it comes to the standards that are applied for the science required for mainstream medicine. Like, it's a nonsense. They're not going to get away with it any longer. This is it. This is a line in the sand. People will help the people. I pray that Louise Adams, who I met at the Australian Open, will say yes and put a big voice in the most incredible town hall with the biggest organ in the Southern Hemisphere. It is majestic. So tell me what songs you'd like played during the day. We'll have theme songs in the town hall. We then could have music, parade, all the way to the Shrine of Remembrance. So all your favourite songs, what are they? Let me know. And we've got a lot of time to plan this. The songs, that is. We haven't got a lot of time to pull the rest of it together, but it's coming together better than I thought. And with your help, your suggestions, we'll have a six thinking hat suggestion where we get together possibly Monday night, and hopefully by then I will have educated a lot of the Facebook groups I'm in and many of my old contacts, and we'll try and lock it all in Monday night and get going with the ticket selling. And the idea I've got there is 1,000 people pay for tickets, 2,000 can fit in. There's about 800 seats upstairs, 1,200 downstairs. And I'd like to see that all the mothers that have been caring for children or maybe unwell themselves, half the audience gets sponsored. Okay? So the mothers that are struggling particularly, and there'll be a few fathers out there, I mean, I've had my struggles, and I'm sure some of the guys, plenty of the farmers are, you know, they're struggling, and a lot of the young teenagers, but particularly the mothers. I'm hoping some of my old corporate friends and that whole network and the whole horse racing and breeding industry will pay for a ticket so it's free for these mothers that are dealing with, primarily mothers, dealing with these damaged children. I've been at least a dozen Facebook groups, and they tell me if you add up all the members of adverse events in these groups, you get about 250,000 in Australia. And of course, do we hear about the adverse events? Well, again, it relies on the doctors to lodge them. And there might be a few horror movies at the summit where we'll learn about some of these risks of taking drugs and you'll be gobsmacked what the doctors said about reporting adverse events. And you might be shocked at what the family court says about giving chemotherapy drugs as well to young brain cancer children without any independent evidence to support it, no better than placebo. Medical kidnapping is on the rise in Australia. So we're going to hit all the big topics. We're not going to put our head in the sand. We're not going to be intimidated. We are not having this summit cancelled. We are not going to bow to any pressure to restrict visas. Every politician that tries to stop this happening will be named and focused as to why they are hiding a focus of the people on corruption. So it's a brave politician to stand up and be, I want to be the spokesperson to stop this summit. And if any of the other activist groups that are opposed to natural health want to play that game, the same rules will apply, because it's time. It's time. We want to work with you to have a level playing field, but I'm not going to put up with any more tactics, all right, that have been done. Others in my network are very willing to work with you. I've been willing, as I did last year with Risperdal. I went quiet on that, all right? I'm not quiet anymore because I'm disappointed on a number of things that have happened since. So, you know, I'm capable of working, you know, with government behind closed doors and sorting this out, but it's gone haywire in the last 12 months. So let's just see. We're all humans. We're all in it together. We've all got parents. We've got brothers, sisters. We've got children, grandchildren. We should be able to sit down and after this summit and say, right, let's have a moratorium. We know we've pushed the bar. Let's just step back and see if there's anyone in. I'm going to finish now, and thank you all for joining in, and we'll have a serious thinking session next week and getting all the nitty gritty sorted out that are still a little nitty at the moment. So thanks for that. I better get to sleep, and I'll be up on the track at about 6:30, hurtling round, and I'll be back on Facebook probably from midday. Bye now. Graham Little, knee Peter Pope. www.fightpharmacorruption or People Help the People. Might have to change my name. Or might have both, just in case. See ya.